Hello viewers, welcome to this video on different incarnations of the book which we have developed specially for the PG certificate in copy editing and proofreading. We are happy to have with us Renuka Chatterjee, who is managing editor of Rolly Books, and Professor V.R. Jagannathan, who was with us in the School of Humanities
for a long time.
For a very long time. And these people will share with us their experiences on the various incarnations of the book that they have experienced. So let us begin with Renuka. Would you tell us something about the different incarnations of the book that you have seen?
Well, I think I have, in all my years in publishing, I have and I continue to deal with the book in its traditional form, which is hardbound or paperback and 300 or 250 pages of text. But I think where I am beginning to see the book in different forms is really, first of all, the role of the computer and technology in the actual process of editing. And I'm, for a totally non-technical person like me, I must say that I am beginning to appreciate the benefits of technology, because it has made the whole editing process so much simpler and quicker. You can actually edit on the screen, and because most word processing programs have the facility of being able to track your changes, you can edit on the screen, track your changes, and send the entire edited manuscript to your author via email attachment. So you're no longer dependent on the postman or the courier delivering the manuscript or losing it. And when it comes back to you from the author with his inputs, you can again you can feed those in without any problem. You can, by the time the book goes to the typesetter or to the DTP section of your office, it is more or less ready to print, and all that the DTP person has to do is to format the book and style the pages, and the book is more or less ready to go to print. In fact, other editors who are more computer savvy than I am can actually format and even lay out the pages themselves on the screen, and they don't have to even rely on the DTP person. But the other area where I find the computer extremely helpful, where the net actually, is in fact checking. You know, earlier one used to spend so many hours looking up the dictionary, looking up the Chicago manual, or going to some reference book or some encyclopedia. Now you can do it all on the net. Any fact, figure, name, date you need to check, you just go to the net and you have it within minutes. I think that's
I think we can come to that point later about the reliability of the net. Yes. But I think Professor Jagannathan would like to share with us what are the different incarnations of the book that you have looked at lately, and as you have seen them in the beginning of your career.
As Renuka rightly said, we are in a digital world, and digital technology offers immense possibilities for easy and better working. But I would say that digitalization or digital world is not just desktop printing or using technology for the earlier task of composing, editing and printing. It has a lot more to do, especially with us at IGNOU, because IGNOU is not only a mega university, it's a mega printer as well.
Publisher as well.
Yes, mega publisher. In terms of the volumes of number of volumes that we print and distribute all over the country, we have a lot to do with printing. And as distance education experts, we also need to look into various aspects of how to deliver the goods to the students at a distance. And that's more important. Earlier, in the correspondence course, people just send them the material, the printed books, and said, you go and read it. But we want to make them realize their potential as self-learners. They should be able to go through the material So we must provide them a whole lot of other things as well. This is where digital technology comes into play, because when we send them the material, it's not just the books or some illustrations that go with it. Even, earlier printing managed illustrations very well. What we want to give them now is what other modes of delivery is possible. For example, the sound files. Say if you are teaching music, you can't do without sending them sound files. And digital world allows us the possibility of sending sound files. So you can go through the sound files and learn whatever you need to do. And we can also send them not only graphics but animation, actual video clips, and we also can think of using the video conferencing for interaction between the members of the peer group. So keeping all this in mind, I think digitalization has a lot of things to offer to us at IGNOU, so that we can effectively disseminate information to the students, which otherwise is not possible only through the printed books.
Does that mean that print is no longer primary? Are we moving towards a paperless office?
Well, I would not say paperless, but I would certainly say that the amount of paper has been reduced by a significant amount. And I think this is partly, largely to do with the fact that more and more editors are now editing directly online and communicating with their authors, sending your queries to the author, sending edited proofs and so on, online rather than on paper. But I think ultimately, before a book goes to print, goes to the press, you need paper. Until you see the book until you have the actual printed proofs on paper, at least I would not feel satisfied sending a book to press.
I would like to add.
Yes.
I think it's very rightly said. Old habits die hard. People still want to hold something in their hands, something tangible. Something coming on the screen doesn't seem to be tangible enough. That's the reason why nowadays most of the dictionaries, for example, CoBuild, Webster's, they have come out with a printed version with a CD that goes with it. You can use the CD, and the CD allows you immediate location of the word that you want. You don't have to rummage through about 1,000 pages. Just type 3 letters and you are at your word. So the possibility of having a print form as well as a digital form on CD-ROM is perhaps the in thing now. A lot of people have gone for that. This is where we must think of new ways of printing, editing, whereby you don't have to do it separately and then start doing it all over again. We have to combine the planning in such a way that as the printing goes on, your CD-ROM is also getting ready. At the planning stage, I mean. And then, when you are starting executing things, you do them simultaneously so that you have both the books ready. So this is a new dimension in the world of editing as well as printing.
What I wanted to know was, what are some of the old habits that take you still towards print? Do you want to bookmark it? Do you want to turn down the corner of the book? Because technology allows you to do this even with electronic books, with e-books.
You have, in fact, pointed out the most important thing, the e-book. I will tell you one very important thing that happened. A long time back, the e-book came. And in the e-book, perhaps you could go through pages by pages as almost as a roll. Just keep changing the pages and then continue reading. But then people thought that it may not be aesthetically appealing to people because they want to have both the pages ready and then they have to flip over the page so that they go to the next. So now we have e-books which present to you the material as pages, an open book. And then immediately you press a button, and then the next 2 pages appear before you. It almost looks like a book.
What are the physical qualities of a good book? If it's in print, what are some of the qualities that a book should have?
I think before we get to that, I'd just like to comment a little further on this. I think 2 reasons why old habits die hard is, one is computers also make mistakes, which is why I said that until I see an actual physical proof of a book, I mean in the form of paper, things like a running head missing, a page number which has been dropped, a widow line, these are things which you can never 100% check on screen. It may be, the computer may show it to you, but when the book actually goes for printing, some technical error may take place where a running head disappears from a page, or a widow line remains, or a certain, or a folio number disappears. Now, all these things you can only be 100% sure that they are all there when you have, when you actually have the printed proofs of the page. Secondly, as I did talk about, you're sending your edited version to the author with your changes tracked, and the author getting back with a yes or a no. But I think it is very important to have those things on record, because later on, when the book is printed, the author may claim that he never saw certain changes, or that certain changes were made or altered without his knowledge or his concurrence. So at least in the whatever discussion back and forth you may have, but when you have finally reached a consensus, okay, this is the version of the book that is going to press, you need to have that exchange with your author on record. And how do you keep it? You cannot store it forever in your computer, so ultimately you need to take a printout and have a file. Secondly, there is the, I was talking, this really deals with the technical aspects of book publishing, but there is the emotional aspect. And I think even if in e-publishing you may have developed a technology where you can actually turn pages, but you cannot take a computer to bed with you. And the satisfaction of, actually reading in bed at night before you go to sleep is something which I don't think e-publishing can give you, or to sit in an armchair. Yes. But to come to address your question of the physical aspects of a good book, I think layout, the actual page layout is extremely important. The sort of typeface you use, the way that you lay out your chapter titles, your running heads, your page numbers, all these need to be designed in as aesthetic a way. It should be readable and accessible to the eye. There are a lot of designers who, tend to use typefaces or fonts which may look very attractive but are actually not that easy to read. So a neat, clean design which looks good and is easy to read, that is important. I think quality of paper is extremely important. Quality of binding, these are the things, the binding, the paper you use, these are really the hallmarks of a good book. And then you go into the finer points. For instance, a publisher friend of mine abroad pointed out that in India we usually, the spine of the book is usually square, whereas abroad, if you notice, most of the books, they do have rounded spines. And he explained to me the reason for this was that the cover fits better on the book in a hardback. And now as far as possible, I try and if I am involved with the actual production of a book, or I have a say in it, the jacket should fit perfectly on the book. So I think the physical qualities of a good book are these. The paper really lie in these details of the paper, the binding, whether you use a round spine.
The size and the shape.
Well,
all, they have to be
the size is very often
on a shelf or on the table. If they're outsized or they're too heavy to carry.
Well, the size is usually dictated, very often dictated by the size of the book, of the text, the page extent. If it is, the standard sizes that we use are the demi, which is about 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, or the royal size, which is 9 by 6. And smaller than that is the B format, which is, I think, 5.8 it is 7.75 by 5.1. I mean, these are the standard sizes which we use for the regular books. Where sizes really come into play are when you're doing large format illustrated books, where, you know, you can really play around with a variety of sizes. And yes, there I think it is important for the publisher to keep in mind that ultimately the book has to rest on a shelf or on a table. So so there is the practical.
So what are the kind of skills our learner should acquire in order to enter the world of publishing, move from the printed page to the electronic page, to editing, to online editing, to publishing on the web?
I'll come to that, but before that I wanted to add a word to what Renuka said. The question is not if the traditional printed book is better or the digital version is better. The question is, what are the needs of different learners so that we can address them? And that is more useful and necessary for us at IGNOU, as you know. Renuka said people would like to take a book to them to the bed. You can take a computer to the bed today. A laptop that reads you out the book.
You can close your eyes and hear the book.
Just close your eyes and read to the bhajan or to the book, a novel being read out to you. And this is one of the most important aspects that's useful for us in distance education. Because there are lots of students who cannot read, those who do not have the proper eyesight. And we want them to go through any of our material through the computer, read out to them. And similarly, there are students who want to have a printout. Now we can have a braille printout.
Right.
So these are some of the basic aspects of digital publishing which we would like to make use of in our situation. So this is where we have to see the needs of the learner. What is it that the learner needs? What are the things the learner needs? A learner needs to talk to others, the teleconferencing. A learner needs to refer to some other book, the website that can be hyperlinked to your book, which is on the computer. You can't hyperlink a traditional book to any other source of reference. But here, just click at the highlighted thing and you get the material to you. So these are some of the potentials, and keeping those in mind, we have to plan our printing in such a way that most of the needs of the people are met. For example, when we talk about, the computer, learning through the computer, the very first thing everybody wants to say, where do we have the electricity? We don't have the electricity, and how we are going to do it? But now we have the digital radio, which gives you access to the entire world. If you want to learn Japanese language, take it directly from the digital radio, from Japan. Or if you want to listen to some professor at Illinois, University of Champaign-Urbana, you have access to that through the digital radio. And this digital radio, which is pocket-sized, comes with a battery. You don't need even electricity, and it's mobile. Carry it anywhere you want. Listen to the program anytime you want. But if we have a digital radio, the digital radio gives you just the audio.
I want to be the devil's advocate.
Where's the printed part?
I want to be the devil's advocate at this point. Don't you think that having all these exciting incarnations of the book and reading material also means that the learner has to be more technology savvy? He has to know how to access it. If he knew ABCD, he could read anything. But now he has to know how to use a computer. He has to know what are bubble views. He has to know how to access those. He has to know how to take a printout.
Can I chip in with another question for the same? How do you expect your learner to learn a very difficult subject as medicine or engineering through distance mode? I mean, don't you expect too much from a learner who has never faced the classroom, who has not met his teacher? So if people can be given the study skills, the skill of accessing a radio station perhaps is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
A small child can change channels today. When I was a graduate, I never knew how to change channels. It was a difficult task for me. But a child now can access the internet. They surf the internet, go to different sites, cull out the information they need, and do their classroom projects. So in a sense, I would say, thank you for the question, I would say even this is a study skill which has to be imparted to the students. We have to tell them how to get the information. And once they are able to get the information from different sources, perhaps they would be skillful enough to get what they need.
But if I may chip in here with isn't there also a cost factor involved? I mean, if you are talking about people who have computer skills, who have access to the net, who can, you are looking at a segment that basically has the income to do all this.
That's exactly what I started with.
Yes.
I would like to continue that. We have different modes of learning, and that's why we are talking about digital publishing for different modes. A multimodal system whereby you have a core material and you plan it in such a way that you get the printed version. When I say printed, the communicable version for different modes. We have the digital radio, the easiest and the cheapest thing to possess. A long time back, when I was a student, I couldn't afford a radio. Now you can see everyone, after some time, not now, everyone carrying a transistor radio at the time it was called. A person riding his bicycle would carry his transistor radio. So this digital radio is not very expensive. What you need is a radio, no need for a computer, and a book with it that describes the situations, gives the illustrations, and gives you the exercises. If you are lucky enough, add it to the computer, and the computer gives you the animation as well.
Right.
As the lesson progresses, the animation comes on the screen. If you are still better off, you can go for a computer-aided learning program. A computer-aided learning program gives you the sound files, gives you the graphics, and is interactive. You can talk to the computer in a sense. Computer monitors your learning. And then, if you are rich enough, you can join the internet for an online program. Take your education from any university in the world. And if you still want to go further, but you need to go further only when you have reached the top. A virtual classroom is not meant for basic literacy. For basic literacy, you need a very ordinary radio. But if you are at a very high level of education, say an engineering student doing his research in an university, virtual classroom is the best thing for him. And as I told you, there are different layers depending upon your affordability. If you can't afford the virtual classroom, you don't have to worry, because you will need it only when you reach the top. At the bottom, you need the smallest and the cheapest equipment that's available in the market. And with that, you can start learning. And as I told you, if you have planned for imparting education, the students are the same. That's the most important thing which I would like to say. Our group of students are the same, but some cannot afford a virtual classroom, and they can just afford a small computer at home. So you have to prepare a set of material that can be put in all different modes.
What I would like to say at this point is that if a learner of my program wants to enter this field as a professional, he wants to develop these kind of skills in order to prepare e-books, in order to publish on the net, what are the kind of skills that he should work at acquiring?
I think your entire program is about that.
We're all getting very excited about what all we can do. But maybe again I'll be the devil's advocate. What are some of the problems that a learner who wants to enter the field of digital publishing would face? What are the kinds of problems? Finances apart. What are for example, if our learners have graduated, but they are not very technology savvy. Would they need to do a course in word processing, for example, or would they need to go and work in a regular publishing house to know how all these things are done on paper before going straight away and working on computers?
Well, as I said, basic computer skills, knowing the most commonly used programs like Quark Express and MS Word, these I think you should have acquired before you enter a publishing house, because I know although some publishing houses do give you that training on the job, but obviously they would prefer it if you came to them at least having basic computer skills. But once you are you have entered a publishing house, then in terms of the equipment and the technology, it is obviously provided for you. So then the cost factor would not really.
What is the situation in regional publishing? Would you
regional language publishing is also catching up very well. I think earlier it was mostly Hindi desktop publishing. I mean computing through Hindi, which was given much importance. But now all the computer software vendors, programmers, they have started different kinds of things for Indian languages. So the basic skills are the same, and that's the interesting part about it. If you know how to do electronic editing and electronic publishing, if you know it in one language, you can easily transfer the entire knowledge, all the skills, to any other language that you know. And even for typing, that's the most interesting thing that happened to me. I don't know Hindi typing or Tamil typing. Now we have what do you call the phonetic keyboards. I type it in English and I get output in Tamil or in Odia or in Bangla. And I can even manage that. And the most interesting thing, I typed a few sentences in Japanese. I just picked out the characters and put them in place, and I have managed to take a page of a Japanese language. So I would say that even Indian language publishing in electronic form is an easy thing to manage. And more important, if you have all the sound files and all the graphics, now you have just to change the text, and your version is ready in many different languages.
Thank you so much. I think our students would have gained a lot from the discussion that we have just had. And I'm sure they would understand that the world of publishing is going to be increasingly exciting, and there's a lot of potential for getting employment also in it. Thank you, Professor Jagannathan and Renuka.
Thank you.
Thank you.